This is the 6th generation Honda CR-V. And to me, and follow me here, okay? It's a bit like Ryan Gosling because it was conceived and conceptualized and kind of engineered in Canada, of all places. And now it's big in the US, it's big all over the world and beloved. And like Ryan Gosling, it's not cheap to hire that guy. It's not cheap to buy the Honda CR-V either, because after 30 years, or about 30 years of Honda CR-V, this costs 200,000 ringgit, or just a little bit under. Which brings me to that pain point. Is Honda now a premium brand with a premium price tag? People hear that and wince, that's too much money. But are you getting a hell of a lot of Honda for that price? But the CR-V, reviewing this car is a little bit more difficult because usually Honda comes along and it's new and it's really, really good. And it being really, really good is really hard for me because I can't really kind of nitpick and get to the bottom of its problems. It's just really good, full stop. And spoiler alert, this CR-V is one of those cars. So I know what you're doing. You're probably just going to click off this video right now and not watch any more of it. You're not going to like or subscribe or comment on this video because I asked you nicely to do so. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Jim. This is Carlist. Okay, almost 200,000 ringgit. Yes, that is more than what you might be used to paying for a Honda. But honestly, we drove this CR-V back in Thailand prior to its Malaysian launch and was convinced that this top spec variant had to be sold for higher than that. And so when they launched it for 196,000 ringgit, I was like, wow, okay, they pulled it off. So prices start under 160,000 ringgit for the S, just under 170,000 ringgit for the E, and just under 182k for the V. And for some context, 7 years ago, back in 2017, the 5th gen CR-V launched in Malaysia with a price range between 142,000 ringgit and 168,000 ringgit. Yeah, time flies, but Malaysian spending power doesn't. This and the Toyota RAV4 are the OGs of the SUV category as it is right now. Before this, it was a Jeep Cherokee, Mitsubishi Pajero, and the Land Cruiser Prado. Big serious SUVs that can actually go off-road. Now, the SUVs are the default family car, usually insisted upon by every household's home minister, if you know who I mean. The first gen CR-V was launched back in 95, and in almost that 30-year span, it has emerged as the king. This 6th gen rides on a larger platform than the older one, longer, taller, wider, with a longer wheelbase. But I gotta say, in person, it doesn't look bigger. It looks trimmer. For its design, I got one word for you. Americanized, which is not a real word. Sure, the design credit does go to someone with a very Japanese-sounding name, Mitsuhiro Abe, no relation to Shinzo, but it was conceived and prototyped in Honda, North America, in Ontario and Canada. And it shows. It's a very American design, and technically Canadian, if you know what I mean. It looks very nice, especially in person. The profile is very upright and squared off like a classic SUV. I think it's one of the best looking out there. But there are gripes. Simply put, the Thai car is better spec'd. Okay, this RS lacks the 19-inch wheels from the Thai spec RS. It would have looked nicer and made that price an easier pill to swallow. But in Malaysia, there's only the 18-inch wheel design, which is shared with the E and the V and the RS. But the RS version is not silver, it's painted in black. So, ooh, sporty. Also, there's no sunroof and there's no 7-seat options, both things that the Thai spec CR-V enjoys. I mean, keep this up and we'll feel really insecure. There's also the argument that this CR-V looks a bit too much like other SUVs, and I can't say I disagree. At the front, people say the headlights, they look like a Mazda, which I see it. And the front grille over here, this whole hexagonal shaped thing, looks like an Audi. And okay, fine, true statement, fair enough. So maybe if you don't look like a Mazda, maybe you don't get this in the red color, too much like Soul Red Metallic, and then don't get this, to avoid the Audi comparison, don't get this in like Nardo Gray. But the biggest, most obvious copycat accusation here is with Volvo. These taillights, they do look like a Volvo. In fact, I saw this car right next to a Volvo in white. And they do look very, very similar actually, these taillights. So you want to avoid the whole Volvo comparison entirely, don't get it in white. Also over here, fake exhaust exists, only one is a real one. CR-V stands for Comfortable Runabout Vehicle. RS, do you know what it means in Honda terms? No, it means road sailing. Someone commented on our previous video and told me it meant road sailing. And I was like, come on, stop being a troll. And then I looked it up on the JDM forums. It actually means road sailing. But road sailing to mean something very comfortable, like you're on the seas, very peaceful and calm, not sporty at all. But it should at least be practical, right? It's an SUV after all. Auto boot, very good. Opens up to a 589 liter boot, which is very nice because it actually has a flat load floor, no load lip whatsoever. Can slide things very easily. The parcel shelf actually is very clever as well. It folds up this way and you can just take it out. Look at that, very easily. And there's stow somewhere inside too. Unfortunately, this is the hybrid, so you don't get a full-size spare wheel or any spare wheel for that matter. You do get a tire pump and a tire repair kit. So everything beneath here is all just the hybrid battery and hybrid electronic stuff, okay? You can't pull the seats down, okay? And when you do that, you get access to 1,072 liters. Unfortunately, over here, you don't get one of those easy release systems. You have to go all the way around and do it from the inside. The good thing is that it folds relatively flat. So even if you go to IKEA, all that flat pack furniture will just easily slide on in. So one of the biggest changes for the new generation CR-V over the older one is the powertrains, okay? So even the base variant is turbocharged, but at the high end, you get a 2-liter i-MMD HEV system. All right, so intelligent multimode drive, EHEV is hybrid electric vehicle. So it's the same thing that you get in the Civic RS EHEV, right? So a 2-liter Atkinson cycle 4-cylinder normally aspirated engine, which operates most of the time as a generator to an electric traction motor, and that is the actual power output and torque output for this car, which is 184 PS and 335 Newton meters, which I'm pretty sure is 20 Newton meters more than the Civic. So 0 to 100 in 9 seconds, and the fuel economy is insanely good, okay? On this car, which has the same exact fuel tank size as the other variants, 57 liters, it can go about 800 plus kilometers on a single tank of fuel, which is about Singapore to like Thailand, which is crazy good on an SUV. Inside, the first thing you notice is very Civic-like, okay? If you sat in the Civic FE, you know exactly what you're seeing ahead of you. It is identical to the Civic, in fact. I think even in measurements, okay? You have this very Civic-like honeycomb grille thing covering all the air conditioning vents. Air conditioning, by the way, I think it's best in the business. Control knobs are very intuitive and very nicely laid out. It's plastic, this little silvery thing over here, but it's nicely finished. Not metal, but hey, it's fine. And you have integrated screens onto it. So you have every indication of what fan speed you are, what temperature you are. There's only little things I would actually nitpick about this whole thing. Firstly, the fact that there's very little color happening over here. I would like there to be a little bit more flavor with the interior. Everything's very black. You have some red accents along the seats and everything because it is, you know, the RS spec and therefore, I don't know, sporty, road sailing. And you have that same thing on the gear lever and the steering wheel, but nowhere else. On the door panel itself, a little bit of red stitching over here, but generally it's a bit black in here. With the tie-spec car, you do get wood inlays or wood look inlays. They're fake, but you know, they add more flavor to the interior. I would like to see some color, something else going on here than just a little bit of red and everything is just black. And there is some tasteful inserts of piano black material, but I think it could use a bit more flavor. There's also some wobbliness happening with the center console over here, and the center cubby cover is really wobbly. This is not Honda at all. Infotainment-wise, you get a 9-inch display. Everything's very nice. It's running Android as the base software, but custom Honda software as the overlay, as the UI itself. You get Android Auto, which is wired, unfortunately, but Apple CarPlay, you can go wireless. And it all pipes through a 12-speaker premium Bose sound system, and it sounds really, really good. In fact, this is one of the things that really tell you it's trying to be a more upmarket car, this CR-V thing. Storage, you do get a decent amount of it, okay? For your cups or whatever, you do have 2 cup holders at the front. You do get a large storage area for your phone or whatever you have, your wallet or whatever, down here next to the wireless charger. Center cubby is, despite the wobbly cover, is decently sized. You do get a little tray as well, which does fit your phone a little bit, just about. But if you have a bigger phone, it's not gonna fit. You also get a little area down here just ahead of the center cubby to store whatever long else things that you have. Overall in here, I would say it is about 8 out of 10 compared to a proper premium car. It is very, very close. All the materials feels nicely sort of integrated into themselves. The consideration where they actually have the finishing with the material, with how it's kind of like tied together, it's a very cohesive package. And I think the same thing applies to the Honda Civic as well. It's a very cohesive package. And that is, when your brain perceives quality, that is what you default to, because everything feels connected and designed as a single unit. The only one thing that I really don't, that I can't jive with this car is when I do turn it off, okay, and it's quiet because it's operating EV mode. I turn it off, open the door, it reclines the seat for me, which is nice, so I can get out of the car easier. But the thing is, every time I come back into the car, I start the car again, it does the whole thing in reverse, but it never goes back to my original position. I have to go back, I have to like readjust my seat every single time. And I don't know why that is. Just can program the seat to be, you know, one of 2 memory function, you know, settings. But why can it just go back to when I just got out of the car? I don't understand that. One more thing. Door pockets, okay? We have this speaker that'll cut out over here, which is fine. But door pocket cuts off right there. What is in this area right here? I can knock it around, it's hollow. So they can just make this full length, but they choose not to. At least you can fit a decently sized bottle. This is a small bottle, but a big one will fit too. At the rear, you have, look at this, a 90-degree opening for the rear doors. But same problem though, the door pocket ends right here, and this area behind it is completely hollow. What is up with that? Okay, in the back seats. First of all, what I do like is how much window I have. And they do go down, not all the way, all right? But you do have quite a big window, so I don't really feel claustrophobic inside. Of course, you don't get the sunroof either, so, which I can live with, to be honest. Elsewhere, you do get a lot of space. This is a Honda, so you get so much legroom, seriously. This is where I sit, and I'm 165 cm. So if you have like a, you know, a not so tall driver, you can have a lot of space behind the front seats. Also, thigh support is really good, and check out this flat floor. Usually you have a bit of a hump because, you know, this car does come in an all-wheel drive configuration. The 1.5V is all-wheel drive, and yet there's barely any. This is like EV levels of flat floor. Very nice. The seats are nice and comfy as well. I can actually recline it just a little bit if I want to. Very nice. And nice armrest, nice and beefy and chunky, and a lot of padding to it as well. 2 cup holders in there. You get air conditioning vents. No controls though, just air conditioning vents. And 2 USB-C slots down there. One thing I can't decide whether this feature is annoying or actually genius is the center seat belt situation. So it actually feeds from the roof, okay? You pull it down this way, you secure it, you pull it a little bit more, then you secure this little piece onto a secondary hook like that, and I guess you're secure, although it does kind of eat into your neck. If you're going for a long journey, that'll get really, really uncomfortable. So you take it out this way, but now it's forever stuck in this position, or is it? You take the second seat belt and you have to like do some clever slotting to take it out again. So yeah, is that good or annoying, or is that just over my head? Anyway, let's find out what this comfortable runabout vehicle is like to drive. I'm in EV mode right now, and I want to tell you that in whisper because it's really quiet, like an EV. Cool, right? In the world of my friends and family, if they were to say, hey, Jim, I want to buy an EV, I would go, are you sure? And if they ask again, I would go, are you really, really sure? If they said, hey, I want to buy a Honda, cool, that's a good car. Hey, I want to buy a Toyota, good, that's a good car. I want to buy the Honda Hybrid or a Toyota Hybrid, I would go, okay, fine with that. Anything else, maybe I would ask them again, hey, are you sure? Should you do more research maybe? What are your use cases? Are you sure you want to commit to this kind of thing? All that stuff. What I'm trying to say is that the more I experience the Honda i-MMD, it's a bit of a mouthful, system, the more I'm confident with it, because the experience you get is actually better than when you get with the Toyota, because Toyota is a normal sort of like, parallel hybrid system where it kind of torque feeds you the power. So it's always figuring out where it can kind of slot in electric power to work in tandem with the engine. In this case, the engine is a generator, and it would like to stay a generator for as much time as possible. For the most part, you will not realize you're driving a hybrid with an engine. You're almost driving an EV. And that makes the most sense in the CR-V, because C stands for comfortable. And Honda has definitely made this comfortable. I guess one of the perks of having, slightly small 18-inch wheels, even on this RS spec top end model, is that you get 60 profile tires. Toyo Proxys something. 60 profile tires, a lot of sidewall, which should mean you get a lot of comfort, extra comfort, and you do. There's a certain, sharp characteristic about the way the car turns in, okay? And that's a very specific thing. When it turns in, okay? Mid-corner, in fact, right there, that kind of thing, right here, that kind of thing. There's a certain sharpness over there, but once that direction change has started to happen, you do feel the car a little bit, behaving like a normal SUV would. As in, like, there's a bit of vagueness over there, there's a bit of body roll over there, there's a bit of wallowiness in the suspension, a bit of floaty, not quite, planted feel. But it's an SUV, so I forgive it. And the entire journey between getting there, you'll have access to quite a lot of torque, 335 Newton meters. And it's accessible to you just like an EV would be, which is to say, instantaneous. Roll the clip of me burning some rubber with the ESP off in Thailand. Now. It's stable, it's quiet. Just now, we were filming just now actually. We had people, with a leaf blower, like two guys with leaf blowers, just, blowing leaves around to clean them up or whatever. I couldn't hear a thing. When I shut the door, I couldn't hear a thing. This is thick windows. Econ, normal, sport. Okay, sport doesn't do much. This car has a passive suspension setup, passive dampers. Not a bad sound. Then again, it is being piped in. But I don't mind it actually. I know that's not the engine. The engine is a 2-liter Atkinson cycle, super efficient 2-liter NA. Yeah, it's not completely soulless. If I was sitting here in an EV, betul-betul, like a pure EV, I would just be going very, very quickly, and I would see the numbers ahead of me on the head-up display or whatever, and I would go, oh, I'm going quickly. Around town, okay, this car behaves really nicely. I do have complaint though, because the lane watch system, which I'll get to in a little bit, in conjunction with the 360 cam system, isn't that great. I mean, it's useful. It's not the clearest camera system in the world. And it stands out in this car the most because it is the most expensive non-Type R Honda that you can buy. Okay, ADAS stuff. Here you have Honda sensing, as you would expect, right? So you have AEB, you have rear cross traffic alert, you have adaptive cruise control, and they all work great. I have no complaints, nor have I had any complaints with Honda sensing. The only thing though is lane watch and the lack of blind spot monitoring. Number one, your camera. Nope, it's a potato camera. And I thought this was the case, and I sort of like gave it a pass because in the WRV it's the same thing. Oh, they don't have blind spot monitoring, but they do have lane watch. And that is the baby SUV, so I thought, okay, I guess we'll let it slide. This is their flagship SUV, and it's the same case. There is no blind spot monitoring, but lane watch, you could have used a much better camera, number one. Number two, only on one side. That does not fly, okay? Most of the time, my blind spot obstruction happens on the driver's side when I'm actually trying to merge onto a faster lane. And it's more dangerous because the faster car is trying to merge on this side. And it'll be a much worse accident for me if I get involved in that. Okay, if I misjudge my blind spot, I slam to the next car, it's my fault. So why put it there when I'm merging onto a slower lane? And give me nothing here. Maybe if they put one blind spot monitor sensor here, so it lights up my side mirror icon thing to tell me there's a car coming, maybe that'll work better. But still, it's kind of like imbalanced because you have a camera there and a little sensor over here. Why not give me a sensor and give me cameras? And why not give me cameras on both sides, Honda? I'm nitpicking because there is so few things to really latch onto as a flaw of the CR-V, because it is that good. If I were to bring some family member or friend, someone's friend's mom or dad or whatever, and they had no idea that this is a new Honda, if I told them this car costed 250,000 ringgit, I think they would believe me. They wouldn't really even bat an eye necessarily, because this car feels like it's worth that money. It's engineered, and you can feel it coming out of the pores of this car too, because the way I don't know how to describe this. When you drive it becomes obvious, okay? Because the materials in here are not going to like blow your mind. It's soft touch plastic. It's not especially soft touch either. There's certain places like over here, it's a bit wobbly, like I mentioned, right? You can find fault with the material, but I can't really find fault with the way it was kind of like engineered and designed in terms of its use, in terms of its function. Yeah, all those little attributes where you're looking around for where the engineers and the design department didn't see eye to eye, and that doesn't make itself known. It's almost like the design department and the engineering department work really hand in hand when putting together this car. It's actually really, and I can say the same thing too about the Civic. I can say the same thing too about, actually no, I can say the same thing about the Civic. The HR-V, yes, to a lesser extent, but definitely so in the CR-V. It's a really impressive car. All the things that the customer needs and all the things that the customer would appreciate over time, they have nailed that. But how can they get more people in the door? How can they get more people to visit their showrooms and test drive the CR-V? Well, by making it more desirable. They see it on the road, they see it in pictures, and they go like, wow, I actually want that. It's an SUV. I've never felt this way. I've never felt like I could buy a CR-V with my heart. It's always been like a brain logic only equation. CR-V ticks all the boxes, therefore CR-V I want. And now you look at the CR-V and you go like, ooh, I like that. And then you test drive it, and then you go like, wow, this car is really well engineered and designed. And then you figure out, ooh, Honda actually knows how to make a really good SUV. How about that? So if you've watched my initial impressions video of the CR-V when I drove it in Thailand, forgive me if I repeated some points here, because on the whole, my opinion hasn't really changed. Bottom line, it's really good. The previous CR-V was also really good. Really practical, comfortable, packed with features. Basically the best in class for a family SUV. The CR-V now is still all that, and yes, it is more expensive, but also it's more desirable. It's an SUV you can finally buy with your heart, which previously was something I would only say about a Mazda, maybe. But this RSE HEV is almost there. It's almost perfect. Yes, there are nitpicks, but that's just me being an annoying prick, and they're just nitpicks. But in terms of like the experience level, the experience of actually driving a properly premium SUV versus this, I can't really discern any kind of big gap in between them. So for the most part, this is a premium SUV experience because it's so quiet because of the EHEV system. It's very refined, and I don't know, it's just a very well-rounded SUV. I can't really get into it because it's so good, and Honda has really refined the formula to make in its class the ultimate SUV, and I can't really fault it. Okay, calm down. Look, if you do have 200k to spend on an SUV, you can't go wrong with this CR-V EHEV RS. And by the way, I don't have the kind of money to spend on an SUV. And you can't go wrong if you do, because this car is freaking good, freaking great. And by the way, thank you for making it this far into the video. I understand it might be a long one. Again, also forgive me for repeating myself. If you've watched my previous first impressions video of the Honda CR-V when I drove it in Thailand, because my opinion hasn't really changed. It's a really good SUV. Thank you again for making it this far, and leave us a comment. What do you think about the Honda CR-V? And why not subscribe? See you next time, guys.